We often think of farming, as this timeless practice really rooted in tradition, but actually, beneath the surface, agriculture's been going through this huge shift,
Yeah.
and it's driven by maybe some unexpected forces,
Mm.
tech, sophisticated technology, and data.
Absolutely. And today we're diving deep into how one of the biggest names, John Deere, really transformed itself, turned into a precision agriculture powerhouse. And what's fascinating really is that this wasn't just a guess. It was a direct result of actually listening, truly understanding what farmers needed on the ground.
Exactly. And we've got this great report here from Cognitive Market Research. It details John Deere's whole strategic approach and, well, at its heart is this commitment to listening. So our mission today really is to unpack how this deep understanding of farmer challenges, their problems, fueled the development of some, frankly, cutting-edge tools.
Right.
So where did they even start? How did John Deere begin this process of, tuning in?
Well, the report points to a really significant turning point back in the early 2000s. Instead of just, relying on assumptions, John Deere went out to the source proactively. They did these things called ethnographic studies, which basically means immersing themselves, riding along with farmers, plus on-the-ground feedback sessions, lots of surveys across North America, Europe, and emerging markets too.
Riding along with farmers. Wow. That's quite a fundamental shift from just looking at sales data, isn't it?
Yeah.
So what were the key things, the needs, the frustrations that came out of all that, firsthand contact?
The themes that kept coming up were, well, a really strong desire for more efficiency. Not just saving time, but crucially, minimizing waste. Things like seed, fuel, that directly hits their profitability. They also wanted to reduce the physical strain of the work and achieve better, more consistent crop results, and importantly, figure out ways to lessen their environmental footprint. These were pretty universal desires.
And this wasn't just a gut feeling they got from chatting with people, right? They needed hard data to confirm it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yeah, the report shows how John Deere followed up. They took those qualitative insights and backed them with quantitative research, detailed surveys, focus groups, specifically looking at the demand for new tech like satellite imagery, sensors, automated machinery. And what's really telling, the research also flagged a major source of dissatisfaction.
Oh, which was? What was rubbing farmers the wrong way?
A big frustration with their current equipment, often older stuff. It just lacked the connectivity, the ability to make decisions based on real-time data. They were starting to see the potential, for improving how they operated, and the old gear wasn't keeping up.
Okay, so that gap, the gap between what they had and what they could sort of see coming,
Yeah.
that became a real driver for John Deere's strategy then.
Absolutely. That insight directly led to a major strategic shift, a really significant investment in connected technologies. The whole vision was creating machinery that could, well, essentially talk to each other and adapt to field conditions right then and there.
That sounds like a huge undertaking. Was the kind of the ultimate goal behind that push?
The main aim was really empowering farmers with precision tools, tools that could actually respond to different soil types within the same field, optimize how they use expensive inputs like fertilizer, and give them immediate, useful feedback on how things were going.
Right. And the culmination of all this listening and research, that led to the John Deere Operations Center. Is that right?
Exactly. The report really stresses that this platform, this digital hub, which lets farmers manage everything, planning, monitoring, analyzing, it wasn't just cooked up in a lab. It was constantly being shaped by that ongoing conversation, that feedback loop with farmers.
Okay, so they listened, they learned, and they started building. What are some of the biggest innovations that came directly out of this research-first approach?
Well, yeah, several key technologies that have really changed modern farming can be traced right back to this market research. A classic example is the AutoTrac guidance system. I mean, most people have probably seen those videos, tractors driving super precisely across fields, almost on their own. That's AutoTrac.
Yeah, it's definitely impressive to see. But what specific farmer problems sparked that invention?
So the research found this surprisingly common and costly issue. Even really experienced tractor drivers, they unintentionally overlap passes when planting or fertilizing. Seems small, right? But over hundreds, thousands of acres, it adds up to a lot of wasted seed, fuel, fertilizer. AutoTrac fixed that using GPS to guide the tractor with incredible accuracy. It ensures consistent application, which means better yields and lower costs. Think about the savings on a big farm. It's huge.
That makes total sense, those small overlaps magnified across big fields.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must really hit the bottom line. What about variable rate technology? That's another one I hear about, VRT.
Ah, VRT. Variable rate technology, it takes that precision idea even further. So instead of just putting down the same amount of seed or fertilizer everywhere, machinery with VRT can actually change those rates on the fly, based on detailed data about the soil and specific parts of the field.
So it's really moving away from that like one-size-fits-all way of farming a field.
Exactly. And the report highlights that this came directly from farmer feedback. They were frustrated, with equipment that couldn't handle the natural variations you find in any field soil quality nutrient levels. VOT lets them customize what they do practically down to the square meter. It boosts productivity while saving resources.
That level of efficiency is pretty amazing. And then there's see and spray technology.
Yeah.
That sounds incredibly futuristic.
It is pretty cutting edge, yeah. See and Spray uses computer vision, machine learning, to basically spot weeds in real time as the sprayer moves through the field. And then it only sprays herbicide precisely on the weeds themselves.
Whoa! So instead of spraying the whole field, it's like a super smart weed killer zapper.
That's a good way to put it. And the main driver for this, the research showed, was the huge cost and, frankly, the environmental impact of traditional blanket spraying. See and Spray cuts herbicide use dramatically. It really shows the value of targeting inputs precisely and its potential to, well, revolutionize how we protect crops.
It sounds like John Deere also knew they weren't just selling to one kind of farmer, right? The report talks about market segmentation being important. Why do they need to look at different farmer groups separately?
That's a really critical point. Yeah, John Deere saw early on that one solution wouldn't fit all. Their research made it clear. Different segments, huge commercial farms versus smaller family operations or those growing specialty crops, they all had different challenges, different levels of tech savviness, different budgets. The priorities for a massive corporate farm in, say, the U.S. Midwest are just fundamentally different from a smallholder in Southeast Asia.
Right. Can you give some specific examples? How did they tailor things for these different groups?
Sure. The report mentions that, for instance, large agribusinesses, think US, Canada, they wanted comprehensive systems, fleet-wide data analytics, high levels of automation. They needed the big picture. But then you look at smaller farmers, maybe in Latin America or parts of Asia. They were often more interested in affordable, easy-to-use, entry-level tech, something with a really clear, fast return on investment.
So they weren't just trying to push the fanciest, most expensive tech on everyone.
No, not at all. Their response was smart. Develop a tiered range of solutions, everything from basic GPS guidance right up to fully autonomous AI-driven tractors. This lets farmers adopt the technology that makes sense for them at their own pace, matching their needs and their finances.
And they also localized their R&D, didn't they? Adapted it for different parts of the world.
That's right. They set up R&D hubs in places like India and Brazil. This let them do research focused specifically on the local conditions, the climate, the main crops grown there, the economic situation. It ensures the tech they develop is actually relevant and works well for how people farm there. And the impact of doing this, of segmenting, is pretty significant. It makes precision agri accessible beyond just the high-tech early adopters. That helps agriculture globally and supports food security.
It wasn't just about the initial research setting the direction, though, was it? The report keeps mentioning ongoing feedback, continuous improvement.
Absolutely vital, yeah. That commitment to always improving, driven by solid feedback loops, it's central to their whole strategy. John Deere set up loads of channels for gathering insights, talking directly with farmers, sure, but also getting feedback from their huge dealer network, from agronomists, even from the technicians out in the field fixing machines. All those real-time insights get fed back into R&D so they can tweak existing tech and develop new stuff that directly solves the problems farmers are facing now.
And they also saw the value in working with others, the power of partnerships in this evolving tech landscape.
Precisely. They built strategic data partnerships companies doing weather forecasting, seed companies, agronomy consultants. This really enriched the John Deere Operations Center. It turned it from just being about machinery data into a much more holistic resource for farmers, giving them a wider range of information and tools all integrated together.
And the farmers themselves, they actually wanted this kind of connection, didn't they? Different systems talking to each other.
Yes, the research was very clear on that. A strong desire for interoperability, the ability for equipment from different brands, different software to work together smoothly. So Recognizing this, John Deere did something pretty significant. They opened up parts of their platform using APIs. Think of APIs like digital handshakes between different software. By opening these up, they let third-party developers create specialized apps tailored for very specific, often local farming needs. This really spurred more agile innovation and positioned John Deere as a leader in digital ag overall, not just a hardware maker.
Okay, so let's talk impact.
Yeah.
What has all this research, all this tech development actually meant on a global scale? Are we seeing real results for food production, for sustainability?
Oh, the impact's been genuinely transformative for how we grow food. The report pulls together numerous studies, real-world field data. It shows significant improvement. We're talking crop yield increases, typically 10 to 20%, and reductions in using inputs fertilizer, pesticides, sometimes by as much as 30%, and crucially, using resources more efficiently like that. It also means lower greenhouse gas emissions from farming.
Those are really substantial numbers. Can you give some specific examples of where this tech has made a difference on the ground?
Sure. There were pilot programs in places like Iowa and Nebraska, real farming heartlands. They showed better profitability per acre for farmers using Deere's precision tech. And, interestingly, measurable improvements in soil health over several seasons. In developing economies, this tech helps smallholder farmers cut waste, manage risk better, and even get better access to credit because they have solid data on their operations. The report specifically mentions higher cotton yields in India and soybean farmers in Brazil optimizing pesticide use thanks to site-specific data from Deere's tools. And their research continues, focusing on adapting to big challenges like climate change and water scarcity. It's all about building a more sustainable, resilient food system.
Looking ahead now, based on John Deere's research roadmap, what are the big trends? What's next for precision agriculture?
Well, the report suggests a continued very strong focus on pushing automation, robotics, and AI further into farming. Research indicates that the idea of fully autonomous farms, it might become increasingly real, especially given challenges like finding farm labor and, well, the need to feed a growing world population. John Deere's strategic moves like buying Bear Flight Robotics, they specialize in autonomous tractors, and their partnership with Blue River Technology for computer vision, those clearly point in that direction.
So the sci-fi image of robot farms,
Mm-hmm.
maybe not so sci-fi anymore.
It seems like a likely path, yes. They're also actively looking into researching how to integrate things like regenerative agriculture practices, carbon farming, other climate-smart approaches, how to build those into their platforms, again, driven by research and farmer input. They're running surveys, pilot programs now to figure out how best to incorporate these emerging trends. The report's final thought really sums it up well. For John Deere, market research isn't just a department, it's like a core philosophy. It's what drives their innovation, and it's what's turning precision ag into this global movement, empowering farmers, promoting better land stewardship.
That's a powerful way to frame it. And I remember seeing a really compelling fast fact in the report.
Ah, yes, the one about AutoTrac fuel saving.
That's the one. It said farmers using AutoTrac can save up to 10% on fuel each season. That's significant. And that's alongside reducing input overlaps and making the job less tiring for the operator.
It really drives home the tangible benefits, doesn't it? The real economic and practical gains from these research-driven technologies.
So wrapping this up, John Deere's success, their leadership in precision ag, it wasn't luck. It was deliberately built on really understanding deeply and continuously what farmers actually need, what challenges they face. And they did that through rigorous, ongoing market research.
Exactly right. And for you listening, the key takeaway here is just how incredibly valuable it is to truly understand your end users. Doesn't matter what industry you're in, adapting, innovating based on real-world experience and feedback, that's just crucial for success anywhere.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? As technology keeps racing ahead, how might this kind of ongoing conversation, this dialogue between the innovators and the users, how might that reshape other fundamental parts of our lives, our work? What other insights could we uncover if we did similar deep dives, really trying to understand the needs of people on the ground in completely different fields? Definitely something to ponder long after we finish this deep dive.